Tonight on the Worldview Report, there's been an assassination attempt on the Prime Minister of Slovakia, who just happens to be one of the only two NATO member heads of state to have pushed back against the West and their continued funding of the Ukraine war against Russia. The nation's biggest retailer is restructuring its workforce and laying off hundreds. A Minnesota mom has said that her 9-year-old daughter was attacked at school by a group of girls because her daughter, quote, wasn't Muslim, end quote. An illegal alien is accused of murdering a 33-year-old woman in Berkeley County, West Virginia, after allegedly attacking two homeless people with baseball bats and leaving them seriously injured. And New York City Mayor Eric Adams is floating the idea of having newly arrived migrants become lifeguards for the city's public pools, declaring them, quote, excellent swimmers, end quote. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brannon Howse. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brannon Howse.
Good evening and welcome to the Worldview Report. The Prime Minister of Slovakia was the victim of an assassination attempt Wednesday when he was shot several times in the chest and abdomen. Prime Minister Robert Fico was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Fico has been a vocal critic of the West's open-ended flow of money and military hardware to Ukraine in its war with Russia. Eyewitnesses heard 3 or 4 shots ring out after the Prime Minister was leaving a meeting of his cabinet on Wednesday. There is a video circulating online that shows the moment the attacker was detained, shoved into a black limousine, and driven away. Watch this. Slovakia is a member of the Western Military Alliance, NATO, having joined in March of 2004. However, Slovakia's current government, along with that of Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Hungary, well, they have been highly critical of NATO's anti-Russia fervor that's emanating from London, Paris, Berlin, and Washington, D.C. The two prime ministers have stood against the idea of Ukraine joining NATO, saying it would unnecessarily provoke Russia. Here is what we know so far about this assassination attempt on an Eastern European leader who was a key voice of opposition to the West's Ukraine policy. He promised that Slovakia would not support Ukraine's application for NATO membership, calling it, quote, the biggest nonsense, end quote. As early as April 2023, when he was leader of the parliamentary opposition, he declared that he wanted to stop arms deliveries to Ukraine. Fico said the country would no longer send military aid from National Armed Forces stockpiles to Kiev as a gift. In November 2023, the Slovak government, they blocked the allocation of a new military aid package to Ukraine worth 40.3 million euros. In his opinion, Western military aid to Ukraine is pointless and only leads to an increase in the number of victims of the conflict. He considers anti-Russian sanctions to be, quote, negatively affecting the residents of Slovakia, end quote. The politician emphasized that he rejects the notion that Russia does not exist, quote, it was, is, and will be, end quote, he stressed. Well, here's the question we should all consider. Could this be the trigger that launches World War III? Similar to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in June of 1914, leading into World War I. Well, I pray that is not the case. But this region of the world, it has always been a flashpoint. It's been a center of the divide between East and West and easily exploited by globalists and their warmongers in London, Paris, and Washington, D.C. Joe Biden suggested Tuesday it is misinformation that his administration is restricting consumer choice in the automobile market. But his regime, they recently finalized a rule that will force electric vehicles to make up a much larger share of overall auto sales over the next decade. Biden made the remark during a Tuesday speech about his administration's decision to significantly bolster tariffs against Chinese products, including steel, semiconductor chips, and electric vehicle batteries. The Environmental Protection Agency finalized a rule in March that requires manufacturers to make EVs that constitute between 35 and 56% of all new cars sold in 2032. That's according to a report by CNN. In a clear reference to his, predecessor, Donald Trump, Biden said, quote, "Americans, I want to make this clear. Notwithstanding what the other guy is saying, can buy any kind of car they want, whether it's gas, electric, or hybrid. But we're never going to allow China to unfairly control the market for these cars, period," end quote. Trump, he has slammed the Biden administration's electric vehicle push. Trump has also suggested that electric vehicles and their agenda will hurt blue-collar auto workers and consumers while providing opportunities for Chinese companies to capitalize on the U.S. market. Despite what Biden says, here are the facts. The Daily Caller News Foundation reports that while Americans will be able to buy gas-powered cars in the 2030s, the EPA's final tailpipe emissions rule and a proposed update to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's fuel economy standards would drastically reshape the auto market in favor of EVs over gas-powered models. These regulations, as well as subsidies that the Biden administration has pushed to facilitate the EV transition, will also likely increase the cost of new and used gas-powered vehicles, making those models less accessible to consumers. So, when Joe Biden talks about freedom to purchase any kind of car you want, he's doing what he does best, I think, lying. 39 Secret Service agents have signed a petition calling on Congress to investigate whether Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, policies are putting America's national security at risk. The petition followed a bizarre incident involving a Secret Service agent assigned to Vice President Kamala Harris. That's what the Tampa Free Press reported. Bloomberg White House correspondent Jennifer Jacobs broke the news of the petition in a post on X. Although it was not explicitly labeled as DEI, Jacobs claimed the petition flags concerns about employment practices at the agency. She wrote in her post to X, quote, "There's a petition circulating inside the U.S. Secret Service that flags concerns about a number of recent Secret Service incidents indicative of inadequate training, a double standard in disciplinary actions, and a vulnerability to potential insider threats that could pose a risk to U.S. national security," end quote. She added that the aim of the petition is to call for a congressional investigation. Her bombshell report, it comes on the heels of a very troubling incident involving Harris's Secret Service detail. A news release from U.S. Secret Service on April 22nd said an agent assigned to Harris, quote, began displaying behavior their colleagues found distressing, end quote, before coming to blows with a supervising agent, so reports CBS News. The agent was removed from their assignment while medical personnel were summoned. Other sources present said the agent was muttering incoherently before engaging in a physical fight with a superior at Andrews Air Force Base. The agent who was the aggressor was immediately subdued and detained by fellow agents. Again, that is according to a report by Slay News. Real Clear Politics identified the agent as Michelle Herzeg, a female agent on Harris's security detail. An ambulance took her to an area hospital where she was admitted. An Air Force instructor pilot died Tuesday after the injection seat of the plane he was in activated while the aircraft was on the ground. That's according to a statement released by Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. Captain John Robertson of the 80th Operations Support Squadron was critically injured in the incident on Monday and died Tuesday morning. That's what base officials said in a statement. The ejection seat of the T-6A Texan II aircraft went off when he was inside, according to the statement. The T-6A Texan II is a single-engine, two-seat plane used for training. The accident occurred during, quote, ground operations, end quote. That's what the statement said. Colonel Mitchell J. Koch, the acting wing commander, he said, quote, this is a devastating loss for Captain Robertson's family and loved ones and for the entire 80th Flying Training Wing. Captain Robertson was a highly valued airman and instructor pilot. Our deepest condolences go with all who knew and loved him, end quote. The base said that an interim safety board investigation was immediately formed and that a full Air Force safety investigation board is expected to be in place later this week. We'll be right back after this break.
A lot of people are having great success with a weight management program with Bella Trim, but it's just a tool. In terms of ingredients, Chromex or chromium picolinate improves the actions of insulin, so you have better glucose management, and in addition, it promotes fat utilization. Fat utilization or fat burning is also a feature of metabolite, which are two botanicals that stimulate a switch called AMP kinase, and so you tend to burn fat, reduce belly fat or visceral fat. Who doesn't want that? Metabolite has the ability to stimulate satiety or reduce those cravings. That's really very, very important. And it does that by raising GLP-1 levels. In addition, we've addressed the microbiome by using prebiotics. Healthier microbiome, better weight management.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for joining us tonight and every night, and for remembering we are brought to you by you. And you can help support what we're doing here by pushing out this free broadcast when you make a contribution at WVWFoundation.com. WVWFoundation.com. Go to WorldviewTube.com. WorldviewTube.com. That's my website. That's my broadcast platform that I formed in 2006. And what you'll find is, well, lots of free programming on demand. How do we pay for all this bandwidth bill? How do we pay for all the production and the team and all the staff and the guys in the control room? Well, we do it in part through your help, because you see the foundation comes along as a ministry and says, let us help with some of the distribution costs, streaming costs, production costs, so that we can shove this out to the public as a free education and broadcast ministry program, versus our other option, which is just to immediately put it behind a paywall and only those who pay can see it. Well, we're very thankful we have our foundation and that we can sponsor things like this. So, would you like to be a part of us, our team? Please do consider doing so by going to WVWFoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. And again, don't forget WorldviewTube.com, where you'll find lots and lots of free programming. And don't forget about our Sunday night church service. Since 2015, I've been right here on Sunday nights, other than holidays, teaching a Sunday night church service. Right now, I'm teaching through the book of Revelation. This coming Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central at WorldviewTube.com, Lesson 7, as I teach through the book of Revelation. All a part of our ministry and church service known as, and our church known as, WVW Foundation. Thank you. Last night, we covered a story about people's electric vehicles making them feel sick. A bit of dizziness and motion sickness is what many describe. But today, there's a new report out that explains the extent of this phenomenon and that it is much greater than previously thought. There are growing reports of electric car drivers suffering not only dizziness, but often severe nausea from the vehicle's braking and acceleration systems. And the Daily Mail has a report that at least one former Tesla owner has claimed she experienced nosebleeds, hair loss, and debilitating body pains while using the vehicle she purchased in 2021. While she was not entirely sure the Tesla was at fault, the Georgia resident said her symptoms disappeared after selling the car. Tesla owners have had to trade in some models because the air conditioning systems were prone to mold, which can cause, well, asthma-like symptoms. Tesla has been accused of being the worst offender for causing motion sickness from its one-pedal throttle because they can be, quote, very jerky and really abrupt, end quote. That's as Ed Kim, president and chief analyst of AutoSpecific, told ABC News. Walmart on Tuesday told employees that it will trim hundreds of roles and move most corporate workers to one of three main offices as it seeks to bring people back to work in person following the coronavirus pandemic. In a memo sent Tuesday to the employees and obtained by CNBC, Walmart Chief People Officer Donna Morris said the changes stem from a February 2022 decision to bring corporate employees back to the company's Bentonville, Arkansas headquarters, all in the wake of the pandemic. Here's what Morris said, quote, "We believe that being together in person makes us better and helps us collaborate, innovate, and move even faster. We also believe it helps strengthen our culture as well as grow and develop our associates," end quote. Walmart said it is asking remote workers and those employed in the company's small offices in Atlanta, Dallas, and Toronto to relocate to one of the company's central hubs. That's what the Wall Street Journal reported. The retailer said it will still allow staff to work remotely, but only if they spend most of their time in the office. While most people affected will be asked to move to Arkansas, some will be allowed to relocate to Walmart's offices in San Francisco, that is the Bay Area, of course, or to Hoboken, New Jersey. An unidentified source told Reuters that remote workers were given until July 1st to decide whether to move or to quit and receive a severance package. Walmart, of course, is the largest retailer in the world and the largest private employer in the United States, with 2.1 million employees globally. And that's according to Reuters. The Post-Millennial reports that a Minnesota mom has said that her 9-year-old daughter was attacked at school by a group of girls because her daughter, quote, wasn't Muslim, end quote. According to a report from Alpha News, Shauna Larson told the reporters at the outlet the details of the attack that the mother said took place on April 29th at Hidden Valley Elementary in Savage, Minnesota. The mom said that the principal came and told her what had occurred at the school. Larson stated, quote, "They came up to my vehicle and informed me that there was an incident at school that day. They wanted to make it very apparent that my daughter didn't do anything to cause this. And they told me this was a calculated incident and that she had been attacked on the playground by 4 other students in her grade. I ended up learning this was due to her race and her religion because she wasn't Muslim. So that was pretty jarring to hear," end quote. Larson did not realize the extent of the injuries until her daughter was bruising the day afterwards. Larson told reporters, quote, "That's when we noticed that she had a black eye. And we immediately took a picture of it. When she came home that day, I just kind of looked her over and she had bruises on her arms and a bruise on her back. Bruises all over her legs," end quote. Larson's daughter said to her mom that the girls pulled her by her hair to the ground and then started beating her up. Poor child. Breitbart reports that an illegal alien is accused of murdering a 33-year-old woman in Berkeley County, West Virginia, after allegedly attacking two homeless people with baseball bats and leaving them seriously injured in Jefferson County, West Virginia. Davison Antonio Calderon, a 46-year-old illegal alien from El Salvador, has been booked into the county jail in Frederick County, Virginia, after having a warrant out for his arrest in Berkeley County for allegedly killing a woman sometime earlier this month. On May 6, law enforcement discovered the 33-year-old woman's body after firefighters extinguished a couch that was on fire in Berkeley County. The woman had been reported missing from Jefferson County's home confinement program. In April, police alleged that Calderon attacked two homeless people at random with baseball bats behind a Walmart store in Jefferson County and seriously injured them. As a result, a warrant for his arrest for malicious assault was issued. Only a couple of days after the woman's body was found, Calderon was arrested on warrants related to the two attacks against the homeless. After he was booked on the assault charges, he was charged with murdering the woman. Officials with the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office said Calderon had attempted to seek asylum in Canada via the U.S. northern border, but was denied. He was then turned over to Department of Homeland Security custody and released with a notice to appear before a federal immigration judge. Calderon, he remains in custody at Northwestern Regional Adult Detention Center in Frederick County while waiting to be extradited to Berkeley County on the murder charges. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is floating the idea of having newly arrived migrants become lifeguards for the city's public pools, declaring them, quote, excellent swimmers, end quote. On Tuesday, during a press briefing, Adams complained that the hundreds of thousands of migrants who have arrived in New York City over the past few years, well, they remain ineligible to work. Instead, Adams said he would like to see migrants be offered lifeguard jobs at the city's public pools and beaches because they are, quote, excellent swimmers, end quote. Quote, let me just take your imagination for a moment. If we had a migrant and asylum seeker plan that states those jobs that we are in high demand, we could expedite work permits, end quote. That's what Adams said. And then he added that New York City, quote, has all these eligible people waiting to work with the skills they need to fill the jobs, but we're unable to allow them to work because bureaucracy is in the way. That just does not make sense, end quote. Watch this.
Plan that states those jobs that we are in high demand, we could expedite. How do we have a large body of people that are in our city and country that are excellent swimmers, and at the same time we need lifeguards? And the only obstacle is that we won't give them the right to work to become a lifeguard.
Adams, he has long been a proponent of using the southern border as a mere checkpoint where migrants can pass through with work permits into the United States to take jobs. Last October, while traveling through Latin America, Adams, well, he suggested that the world's migrants deserve a, quote, right to work, end quote, in the U.S., regardless of the impact that mass migration has on the job prospects and wages of Americans. Well, now it's time for our nightly Worldview Report commentary. As many of you know, the 2024 Summer Olympics opens on July 26 in Paris, France. And now we are learning that spectators traveling to the City of Love will have their movements tracked and restricted through the use of digital QR codes. The city's Olympics website states, quote, the Paris 2024 Olympic Games are fast approaching, and with them come their share of security measures. These include the introduction of restricted areas accessible only on presentation of a QR code, end quote. The website goes on to explain that, quote, the JO 2024 QR code is a unique QR code that gives access to certain restricted areas set up in Paris during the Olympic Games. These areas include competition venues, Olympic villages, and fan zones. They go on to say, quote, the QR code contains information about the holder, such as surname, first name, and ticket number. This information is used to verify the person's identity and ensure that they are authorized to enter the restricted area, end quote. Then it further explains, quote, the QR code will be required to enter the security perimeters set up around the Olympic venues. These perimeters will be delimited by barriers and checkpoints. The exact zones concerned will be announced by the authorities at a later date, end quote. Well, this is the same system that's being established on a mostly voluntary basis at large venue events right here in the United States, such as baseball games and concert halls. As well, of course, U.S. airports are implementing the very same system. But this is the first major event that I could, really recall that's post-COVID, where entry will be based on a mandatory QR code. So make no mistake, this is a big deal. And if it is successful, you will see other venues also mandating what amounts to a digital ID system. And without it, you will not be allowed, through the gates. So imagine if this spreads to retail stores and restaurants. Oh, wait a minute. That already happened at 10 major U.S. cities during the COVID lockdown. So I think resistance is the only way to stop this, beast from growing into a monster of total government control over the movement of human beings. If too few of us resist, we all end up in a digital police state. I personally, I would not darken the door of any event that is going to, track me like a digital slave. And if more people resisted this, you know what? You'd see them step back from this invasive, privacy-crushing system. Don't you think? Well, that does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. We always thank you for tuning in, and we also thank you for remembering we're brought to you by you. One way you can support us and I think your health is by going to melissahousebg.com. Check out this elixir. I take it every day, as does Melissa. I have since December 2nd of last year. She's been on it since last fall of 2023. We both have received remarkable results, and we have a lot of personal testimonies from many of you. In fact, the results that so many of you have received, just like many of the great results Melissa and I have received from taking it, many of you have thus signed up for a subscription. So it shows up at your door every month. You get a discount when you sign up for the subscription, and you don't have to worry about it not arriving because you forgot to order it. It just shows up because you don't want to forget, right? Because I tell you, get off of it for a day or two and tell me what happens. Many of you have done that and reported back. That's why you got to keep taking it. You're getting great results, and you don't want those results that are so positive to end. melissahousebg.com. There you'll find out about the nearly 80 clinical trials. melissahousebg.com. You ever heard of glutathione? It's a powerful molecule, according to studies, that can actually detox your cells, perhaps even remove mercury from the brain, according to one study that I read, as well as help with fighting dementia, Alzheimer's, and possibly things like Parkinson's. All the details you'll find when you just put into a search engine, what are the benefits of glutathione? Read all these studies. They're amazing. Well, this product right here contains glutathione. It's called Numi. You can find out more about ordering the swish. You swish it around your mouth for 3 to 4 minutes and spit it out or swallow it. And this gets into your system, according to the studies I've read, within about 90 seconds. You can find more details and order by going to Neumi.com/house and the number 1. Neumi.com/HOWSE and number 1. Great way, I think, again, to support us and your health. Hey, don't forget about getting your Contagion emergency kit. Dr. Thorpe says, don't panic, prepare. Well, if they're going to push the new disease X on us, which I think is going to be bird flu, then you're going to want to have some things on hand. Don't panic, prepare. You want to get, I think, the Wellness Company Contagion Kit. Just go to twc.health/Brannon, twc.health/Brannon. When you use that URL, you save money and we get credit. Everybody wins. Check out their Contagion Kit, all right? Get the right meds on hand so you have them. And then finally, we're so pleased to announce a new sponsor tonight, WorldviewTalk.com. WorldviewTalk.com. I've known the CEO of this company for about 3 years, and I have one of their satellite phones. So if the grid goes down, there's a power outage, and all cell phones are down, I can use my satellite phone. Great way for families to stay in touch. Give one to that college student who's maybe away, the spouse who travels. Maybe you use it when you go hiking or camping and you're out too far from cell phones. All the details at worldviewtalk.com. They also have cell phones you can get where the company does not track you or store your data. That's available at worldviewtalk.com. And then finally, I also got from them one of their solar generators. Yeah, I have a regular big old Generac that runs on natural gas. But what if that gets interrupted? So I want to back up to my backup. So I got a big solar generator from them. You'll find all of these products at worldviewtalk.com. And if you want to ask questions, go to the top of the page, right-hand corner, in red, top right-hand corner of the page, in red is a phone number. Call that number. They'll gladly answer any of your questions on these products. worldviewtalk.com, another sponsor that's helping us keep this broadcast going. Well, I'm Brannon Howse. So next time, may God save America. Take care.